getting my gloves on. Made it to the park this morning, which is nice. Had a really difficult. Had a difficult day, challenging day yesterday. It's kind of beginning with the searching for a place, which is in itself can be a bit stressful to look at the prices and things like that. Kind of lucky because I'm getting some help with the looking, and some support with that. So on one hand, that's really kind of grateful for that, and it's, but also there's the aspect of I guess the sort of stress of my health at the moment. It makes me a bit more sensitive to, I guess, interactions and things in that nature. So there's the understanding that people have their viewpoints and opinions on things, and I think it's just been difficult for me to absorb that, or an interaction generally, especially when it's in this nature of trying to resolve something. It can naturally is a bit more of a heavier energy there, and because when you care about somebody, naturally you're gonna want to help them, and there's an element of sort of taking the other person's problems on board a bit as well. So I can understand that, as the human aspect of that, when someone's sort of helping another person, it can. So I understand that with me getting help, the how it can affect them. So I'm trying to be compassionate and considerate of that, but I think maybe it's most important just to see how I'm feeling and how it's and just how what's going on at the moment is affecting me. It's important to focus on that. So yeah, there was some rumination in the middle of last night about yesterday, and I guess it's good to acknowledge on a large part, I've done well to sort of remain present and mindful, despite the stresses at the moment. It's probably hard for me to go into details on here, but generally speaking, I'm kind of under pressure, a little bit under pressure now, looking for a place, just because of my sort of financial affordability of where I'm staying now, and the amount of support I'm able to get for that, which is not going to be enough. And so I'm going to try and apply for, if there's something I can apply for that sort of gives you extra help with paying rent, and there's a bit of stress around that process as well. And of course, there's the general difficulty of mental health, even without all of this stuff. I my days are up and down and other things. So, on one level, I can say that I'm maybe doing well is a bit too much, but I'm sort of doing my best to manage this extra sort of stress, and I'm really doing my best just to manage each moment. I think just going back to sort of spiritual teachings, and try my best to kind of not stay out there in thoughts and what can happen if this happens. And sometimes I find for me there's an easy habit of rumination on a problem that needs resolving, and the mind kind of continuously wants to chew at the problem and continuously come back to it and try and on one hand there's obviously a need, a necessity, and to kind of really put some conscious thought into resolving something, but it's almost being aware of not doing that the whole day, because often, for a lot of the time, a solution doesn't come up like that. Sometimes the solution comes when you're not thinking about it, and it happens that way too. But there's maybe a tendency for my mind, maybe it's a comfort there, that if I continuously worry about it and try and work it out, that that it will reduce my worry in some weird way, or versus kind of maybe in a very conscious and healthy way compartmentalizing it, thinking, okay, let's spend half an hour on evaluating the situation, thinking of what next steps I can do, and then letting it all go for the rest of the day. So that's something, maybe me kind of saying the words now, hopefully it kind of maybe embed that in me, remind me to do that. And I'm kind of aware of the momentum to want to worry and stress as well. And maybe there's a link. Of course, naturally, there's a bit more of an easy trigger for me to worry and to do that, because I'm quite, I guess, mentally vulnerable in that respect. So I'm kind of up against it in that way, not to just to be aware of the trigger to kind of worry and all of that. So I had the intention today to go to the library to do some writing, to try and, in amidst all of this this kind of stressful period, and to try and also focus on that as well. So maybe I'll do a little bit of searching on some of the property sites. I did have a thought to try and maybe go inside. There's an estate agent's, I think, not too far from the library, and I did have a thought whether to pop in there beforehand to have a chat, but I can feel there's a lot of stress in my mind and body at the moment. So perhaps as much as I want to kind of continuously, make strides and do things, that it might be wise not to push the boat with that, perhaps. Yesterday, when I got some help, we made some inquiries about a viewing or two, and also there were some messages written to, I think, 2 estate agents asking, first of all, telling them about my situation of being on universal credit, and but also clarifying that I've got 4 years of sort of records of regular payments and things and other things that can maybe bolster my application. And it's more or less to kind of ask them if landlords would accept that, and I'm sure they have like a general idea of the landscape, and perhaps if previous people have inquired with similar circumstances. So that was the idea, to do that this morning, and maybe just going to the library, and that's kind of enough sort of stress, and it's going to take me a great deal of effort to kind of lift myself up, because I find when you're in this sort of state, it's so hard to sort of maintain like routine and healthy things. Like, coming out here this morning, and when I woke up this morning, I was just so exhausted, and naturally the stress kind of was apparent quite immediate in the morning of my situation, and the last thing I wanted to do is sort of get out of bed. I was very close to just trying to go back to sleep, because I think it was one of those times when I was feeling tired that I could go back to, maybe I could go back to sleep. And of course I've had really difficulty sleeping as of late, so the temptation to do that and giving myself a reason to kind of help with the stress, and also recovering from a cold. I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I realised when kind of waking up and getting up, I felt a tiny bit better, and I almost felt like I'd probably be a bit more sort of be a bit more of a low mood for sure if I woke up late, and it'd probably be harder for me to get started with my day, and maybe I'd want to like hibernate and stay inside, and that could sort of snowball a little bit as well. So I think, to do a little bit of writing in the library, and I think my afternoon and evening quite. Actually, I do need to do some cooking as well. So maybe I was just about to say my afternoon and evening is a bit more open to try and rest or relax, or use that time to recover a little bit from maybe to release some of that stress, and just whether it's watching something but maybe cooking sometimes can be either way. It can be helpful sometimes if I've got the energy and the mood is there to cook, and it can be therapeutic, and it can be sometimes nice to kind of when I'm in that sort of smaller space and there's something productive happening, like I've got something on the laptop on the counter and I'm at the stove cooking, and you can feel sometimes less lonely as well, and less maybe there's a normality in cooking, and sometimes you can sort of lift the mood as well. I'm doing something productive and I'm able to take care of myself. So it all depends how much energy I have after the library, because to write and things, that takes out a certain amount of energy, and of course it depends how the writing goes as well. If I have like a difficult writing session, that can be a little bit of trigger of just everything collapsing, thinking, okay, what have I been doing for the last 20 years with this writing stuff, or lots of thoughts that can come in. So hopefully I'll leave that intention there to try and cook in the afternoon, but of course if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen, but I'm going to try anyway. I'm going to definitely try. You can put on a podcast in the background, or a movie, and maybe it'll be nice. Hopefully it'll maybe fill my afternoon a little bit as well, keep me busy, which could be a good thing for me right now. Trying to think of what else that I need to do today, and also things that may also help me. Sort of going into a bit of the CBT stuff sometimes, where you kind of have to plan sort of activities and different types of activities that will help one's day. Maybe I've covered with that that stuff as well. Maybe I need to I've stalled on reading the Depression Cure book, so I need to perhaps pick that up again, because I think with stalling it, I've sort of not been following some of the steps as much, or I've not obviously gotten a full grasp of the steps by not reading the details of all of the program as well. So I think, by reading the book, it will reinforce and help me build on the steps and the amount I'm doing as well. So I think that's maybe important to do. So yeah, maybe there's a few activities there that will keep me busy for today. So go into the library, got some cooking to do, some reading The Depression Cure. Of course, I've always got the activity there of recording a podcast as well, podcast episode. So so maybe I've got some things that hope may shape my day a bit, and be a good sort of distraction and not from the rumination. I think that would be useful, as well as me, of course, continuously being present and mindful throughout the day as well. I feel that those activities, for sure, will provide a bit more of a backbone and support alongside that. One thing to note from yesterday, there was a moment when I got back home, there's lots of emotion in me. I was overwhelmed and stressed, and I felt extremely low. And I think after about 2 hours or so of being home, I was speaking to a friend, and they had mentioned it to me as well about recovery, and I kind of acknowledged that actually I do feel better, a lot better than I did, or not as, those emotions were not as severe for me, because in my mind, I guess, and perhaps in the past as well, it's maybe the mood when I've had a bit of a difficult day, it's gone into a few days, and now just to note that whether that continues to happen that way, but I kind of recovered from that a lot quicker than I thought I would. So that's something to really to maybe note as well, that a difficult day, it doesn't have to be a difficult week or a difficult few days, and that's useful to note. My mornings are quite nice in a sense, because the library doesn't open up until 11, so I usually I got out here a bit later than usual. Right now it's like still probably before 9 o'clock in the morning, so it gives me a bit of just sort of time to sit here if I want to, and that sort of stuff. A bit of an easy low pressured morning in that respect. The only thing I want to do is to get out for the sunlight, and a little bit of a walk, which I just did one lap this morning because of my energy and my cold. So so I've got some coffee here, and just maybe nice just to maybe put on some calming music and just sit here in the park for a bit, and then I can sort of gently transition to the library, and I'll see how the rest of my day goes, and maybe I'll check in later, I'll see whatever's useful for me, what's beneficial, and if it's always tomorrow as well in the morning. But I feel a bit better for sort of recording this morning, and sort of brainstorming my day. So fingers crossed, I can manage to get through the day, and hopefully maybe have some enjoyable parts as well. So see how it goes.